Hey, what's up guys, Caedyn here. I'm doing my first video. It's Sunday, and the topic for this week is being a trans sibling. So, I'm the last of 11 kids. I have 10 siblings. Um, Both my parents are supportive, all of my siblings are supportive. I have a pretty good family foundation, pretty blessed that way. So, my mom tries really hard to make sure that I feel no different than anyone else in the family. She tries really hard to make sure that all of my siblings treat me with respect and nothing but respect. She makes sure that they all know kind of how I feel about certain things. Okay. So at first there was a lot of pronoun slip-ups, and that's kind of to be expected because I mean it's a transition for everybody. I mean, they knew me for 23 years using female pronouns, and so to just kind of expect all 10 siblings and my parents to just flip a switch seemed a little bit unfair. So I didn't really get upset with them the first 6 months to a year, especially since I hadn't started hormones or had any surgeries or anything, and so I could see how it was difficult for them. But like I said, my mom tried really hard to make sure that I always felt included and that I always felt like I was a part of the family no matter what. There were a few times, I mean, more than a few times. I mean, I would assume that most trans people have felt disrespected by their siblings one way or another, if you've got siblings. For me, there was one time in particular that I recall being really, really irritated with my sister. She said something and it just really ticked me off, and so we were at the house and she was saying, my wife was saying something, she was complaining about something. I don't know what it was, I can't recall, but my sister just looks at me and she goes, well, you should understand, you used to be a girl, so you should understand how we feel. And I just remember being so irritated and trying to explain. Well, at that point I didn't really try to explain because I was too pissed off, and so was my wife. But trying to explain and get across the fact that I didn't used to be a girl, that I've always been a guy, and just because the exterior wasn't presenting as what they assumed males should present as doesn't make me female. And I think that was the hardest part for some of my siblings to understand, was that it wasn't that I used to be a girl, it's that I've always been a guy. And that was the hard part, I think, for them, was wrapping their mind around the fact that there was no used to be. I've always been the same person, and I was just enabling myself to match the paint of the car to the interior of the car, if that makes sense. So yeah, that was one time where I got really irritated. And then of course, my nieces and nephews. I've got a lot of nieces and nephews. Like I said, I'm last of 11. They almost all have kids. The closest one to me is 6 years older than me, so they're all at least in their 30s and 40s. I'm only 26, so the closest one to me is 32. I think the oldest is 44. I'm not sure. Really bad with birthdays because there's just too many. So I have nieces and nephews that are 2 years younger than me, and then I have nieces and nephews that are just now turning 3 or 2 or 1, and everything in between. So for the 11-year-olds, it was pretty easy. They were just like, oh, okay, boom, got it, just like that. For my nephew, who's 2 years younger than me, we grew up together, we went to the same school together. He was only 2 grades behind me. He was hella chill. He was like, whatever, dude, like, I've always known it was gonna happen at some point. He also just so happens to be bi and very flamboyant, and he's a part of the LGBT community, and he just doesn't give a shit what anybody thinks. Pardon my language, sorry. So that was easy. I've also got, then, you know, the kids that just so happen to be the kids of my sister that said, you know, oh, you used to be a girl, so you should understand girls. No, I don't understand girls at all. I'm sorry, ladies. I don't. I try, you know, but I think just like every other guy, I fall short every single time in trying to understand y'all. So they're easy. In fact, I don't even know if the 3-year-old even knows. I don't think she would. She's only known me as Caedyn. She's never known me as being a female, so Anyway, back to my siblings. My brother was my closest brother to me, who's 33. No, 34. He's really cool. He tried, we didn't have a relationship before I transitioned. I don't know why, but we just didn't get along. Not that we didn't love each other, but we just didn't get along. We had nothing in common. And then after I transitioned, all of a sudden it was like we started hanging out. We started playing games, having game nights. We started going golfing, having a few drinks together, whatever. But it actually enhanced my relationship with that brother. My sister Denise, same thing. She's 32, and she's the closest one to me. And I feel like we got a lot closer actually after I transitioned. I was kind of a punk ass kid growing up for obvious reasons. I just had a lot of angst and anxiety and depression, and everything that probably every trans person feels at some point or another, whether or not you had a fantastic childhood and a supportive family, or an awful childhood and a really terrible family, and everything in between. I think it's just kind of a common element with us is being at angst with yourself, for one reason or another. And I don't think it's better or worse. Mine was better or worse than anyone else's. I think it is what it is. And because of that, I had a really hard time maintaining relationships with my siblings. I was always really introverted. I never really wanted to talk about anything. I didn't want to hang out. I just wanted to stick to myself. And so Denise and I became a lot closer once I transitioned, and as well as her husband, my brother-in-law. He and I got really close, and we had never talked really. I mean, we did at family events and stuff, Christmas, but not really. My sister Amanda's, she was hella chill. She never messed up on pronouns. She just jumped right on the bandwagon and was like, you know what? Yeah, I got your back. Whatever you need, let me know. Really, the only person I actually did have a problem with actually ended up being my dad, and it was not fair because he was trying. He really was trying. When I first came out, he ended up going and renting a documentary on trans people, and he wanted to sit down and watch it with me and ask me questions and figure the whole thing out. So that was pretty cool. But I mean, I'm 3 years into my transition now, and I've been on testosterone for over 2 years, and I've had top surgery for over a year, and I've had my hysterectomy, and he still calls me by my birth name and by female pronouns every time, without fail. So we kind of have a little bit of a strained relationship. But as far as my siblings go, it's just the stupid comments. I mean, it's just my relationships got better because of my transition, because I felt better about myself. I became a stronger person individually, which allowed me to feel more for other people, and it allowed me to open up and be more confident and actually want to socialize with people, which I did not want to do previously, siblings or not. I didn't want to socialize with anybody because I didn't even like myself. And every relationship I have with all 10 siblings of mine got so much better after I transitioned. And yeah, they piss me off every now and then because they say stupid stuff, like Dominique, said, oh, you used to be a girl, so you should understand. I don't know why it irritated me. It still irritates me. But other than that, and she still says kind of stuff like that, so that annoys me. But I kind of just try to educate rather than get angry. And I think that's the key to maintaining my good relationships with them, is to try to educate them on what's offensive, what bothers me. And that's all personal, it varies by individuals. I'm sure that there are some trans people out there who would not have been offended by that, and then there are some who would have been more offended by it. It's all relative to who you are and what offends you and what doesn't offend you, and you just have to be honest about that and say, hey, this irritated me. Please don't do that. Or, if you prefer something else, you could go about it a different way and just say, hey, I'd prefer if you just said this, or if you didn't say this. And having the ability to be honest and say stuff like that, and have your family try to hear what you're saying rather than just listen to you, actually hear what you're saying, that's what makes the relationship stronger, is being open, being honest, communicating, and trying to find a balance between understanding that it's a transition for them as well, and still respecting your transition. Overall, though, I'm really happy with being a trans sibling. I mean, I've never had anybody get in my face about it or try to disown me or say anything that was truly offensive on purpose. Their offenses have always been by accident or by mistake, or just by lack of understanding and lack of education on the subject. And so that gives me an opportunity to kind of give them that education so that they don't make the same mistake again. And it all started with my mom. It all started with her trying to keep us really close, and you know, we have a pretty tight-knit family, and that's thanks to her always making sure that we all know that no matter what's going on, we're all a part of the same family. And whether or not you agree with something that your family does doesn't matter. It matters that you love them and you try to accept them for who they are. And I'm truly blessed to live in a family that thinks like that, because it's not, especially for trans people, it's I don't want to say a rarity, because I know a lot of people who do have really good families, but it's not always there. I'll say that. It's not always there. People don't always have that kind of support from their families. So I never take that for granted, and I always make sure I tell my family how much I love them and how much it means to me, that they're all so supportive of me, and they all try really hard to never intentionally disrespect me or say anything that would be offensive. So yeah, that's about all I have for the video. So if you guys have any questions, though, let me know, because I can absolutely answer more in-depth questions about the subject. I just I'm blessed to be a sibling of, I'm blessed to have the siblings I do. It was a good topic for my first video. Passionate about it. I'm passionate about my family, and I'm passionate about being transgender. I'm passionate about educating people about it. So thank you guys for listening, and I really sincerely appreciate the opportunity to share my story with you guys, and I look forward to making more videos. So thank you.